Hey everyone, welcome to my personal theater. Tonight I've prepared a few movies for your personal enjoyment. We have quite a variety here, so to connect all of these films thematically, I've used Uno. Each film has its own corresponding Uno version, and I'm adding all of them to the amalgam. That's right, baby. Woo! In my quest to combine every unique mechanical version of Uno into one super game, I've stumbled across a ton of movie tie-in versions. This episode will be all about a few of them. If you haven't watched the rest of this series, what the heck are you doing here? This is episode 7. Do you do this with all of your TV shows? Seriously though, you won't know what's happening unless you watch the other episodes, so go do that now. I promised in the last episode that I was going to make up for the lack of Uno versions added there, and I don't plan on disappointing you all. Before we dive in, let's do some clarifying. Will this game be done before Christmas? Definitely not. Sorry, I'm nowhere near close to done. Maybe next Christmas, fingers crossed. Will there be any crossover between Chemicards and Chemicards, either through lore or through the mechanics? I'll say maybe to both of those for now. I'm hesitant to do any crossover there because Chemicards has a relatively serious and dark tone and an established universe, while Chemicards is more goofy and nonsensical. I'm not sure how well they'd fit together. You can expect a reference or two here and there, but probably not anything that would officially link them. How much will this game cost? I still don't know. How come you didn't watch the previous episodes? I'll know once the project is done. Will I be doing a Kickstarter for any of my games? I'd like to avoid it if I can. Making these games is a lot of work, and doing a Kickstarter campaign is even more work on top of that. And tons of potentially unnecessary math. Don't get me wrong, Kickstarter is an awesome platform, but if I get enough requests for my games, I can bypass that step entirely and just let you buy the game like you'd buy anything else. It's a lot simpler that way. How can I give you money? I love you and I want to support you. The best way you can support me is by watching my videos, which you're currently doing, so thank you. The second way would be to request my games and then buy them once they're made available for purchase. Currently, Chemicards is available for request, link in the channel description. I probably won't be setting up a Patreon or anything like that because I'd rather you guys not pay me for a video I would have made even if you didn't pay me. I'd prefer you actually get a product if you're going to throw money my way. I'd consider doing merch or something like that though if there was enough demand. Let me know if you would want a piece of merch and what exactly you'd want on it. Clarification time over, let's get into tonight's feature presentation. For the sake of keeping things brief, just note that every single one of the mechanics presented in this video will be placed on a wildcard like other single wildcard gimmick mechanics from previous versions I've covered. Let's kick things off with a movie from my childhood that I have no memories of. Edition 52, Uno Happy Feet. Do you remember the silly penguin movie better than I do? Perhaps you'd be able to tell me why the unique rule for this version is called the Mambo card. When you play this card, you get to give each other player one card from your hand. It can be literally any card, and there's nothing stopping this card from removing all cards from your hand. Once you're done, you then get to play an additional card from your hand to resume play. This mechanic is interesting because it gets more powerful the more players you have. You'd be getting rid of a maximum of 16 cards, which is really good. Hey, do you guys remember when Ghostbusters was a top-tier movie? Edition 53 sure does. Uno Ghostbusters was part of Uno's 35th anniversary, and I gotta say, this version's unique card ties in really well with the new theme of the amalgam. The Wild Crossing the Streams card forces all players to draw a card, including you. Then you get to play another card of your choice. All other players must then play a card of matching color. If they aren't able to do so, they draw an additional 2 cards. Super chaotic and hurts everyone except you. This is such a fitting card for the Ghostbusters. And yes, this is completely superior to the new Uno Ghostbusters because that one had nothing unique. Get clowned on, Ghostbusters 2016. Edition 54 is Uno En Kanto. Of course Mattel would choose the best song from that movie to build a unique mechanic around. The wild We Don't Talk card unfortunately does not involve 7-foot rats, but I might change that in the final version, who knows. Here's how it actually works. When you play this card, you choose a player. That player can no longer speak unless they call out Uno. This effectively breaks their curse. Just another silly party game mechanic that will fit right in with the dares and other similar mechanics. Edition 55 is Uno Planes. Admittedly, I never saw Planes. Probably because even as a younger man, I knew it couldn't be as good as Cars. Apparently, I was right. The mechanic, however, is quite interesting. The Wild Altimeter Alert card is very similar to the War mechanic from Uno Spin, but with a few key differences to make it unique. Whoever plays this card chooses a color. Now, all players, including you, place one card of that color face down in front of them. If you don't have that color, you don't participate. Then, everyone at once reveals their card, and whoever has the highest number gets to play that card to resume play. If there's a tie for the highest number, all tied numbers don't count, and the next highest number is the actual winner. Like I said, a slightly different war. A battle. A skirmish even. Edition 56, Uno Captain Marvel. Sometimes I like to chuckle to myself about how hard Mattel tries to relate a mechanic to the franchise they're representing. Some are really good, like the En Kanto one, but this one has like no relation to the Captain Marvel film at all. The Wild Cosmic Crush card is basically a hand refresh. When you play this card, place all of the cards in your hand at the bottom of the draw pile in any order. Next, draw that same number of cards from the draw pile. Obviously, this is not an instant win. This doesn't count as emptying your hand. Just a really good utility card similar to the mechanic I added for Boomo, but still uniquely executed. My favorite part of Captain Marvel was when Captain Marvel said, "It's time for my cosmic crush." Edition 57, Uno Cars 2. We're kinda on a trend of movies that are not better than Cars. Don't get me wrong, Cars 2 is an amazing meme, but far from a heartfelt piece of cinema. Anyway, let's look at the Special Agent Mater card. When you play this card, you get to, quote, act like a spy and take a peek at every other player's hand, unquote. Incredibly powerful, but good luck remembering anything in the Amalgam. These cards are going to be packed with information. Also, acting like a spy is an amazing mechanic. Love it. Edition 58 is Uno Jurassic World. The new mechanic here is the long-winded Owen's Wild Raptor Squad card. When you play this card, you get to discard all Raptor cards from your hand in any order. Hold on, is that a card art mechanic, otherwise known as a cam? Indeed it is, as Raptor cards are not unique cards, they're just various normal cards with an image of a raptor on them. We're going to have to make a small change here. Instead of discarding all Raptors from your hand, how about you discard all cards containing the most fearsome number from your hand? 7. 789 after all. Edition 59 is the first of many Star Wars tie-ins, Uno Star Wars. The Wild The Force card is the new thing here. When you play this card, play an additional card on top of it. It must be a color card, so that means no wilds. Then choose a player. If that player has any cards of that color in their hand, they must draw 2. If not, play resumes with the color that you played. This one is kinda boring. I feel like there could be something really creative here. Hopefully the other Star Wars versions make up for this. Edition 60, Uno the Lion King. This mechanic will not leave you crying, don't worry. Also, spoiler alert for The Lion King. You've had plenty of time to see it though, so I don't feel bad. When you play the Wild Circle of Life card, all players pass one card from their hand to the player on their left. Notably, this rule does not change depending on the direction of play, similar to the creeperific card. You always pass your cards to the left. Edition 61, Uno Avengers. This one is really non-specific with its name. It's clearly based on Infinity War / Endgame, but it's just called Avengers. Weird. Anyway, the Wild Infinity Gauntlet card is here, and no, it does not randomly eliminate half of the players from the game like you hope it does. Also, spoilers for Infinity War and Endgame, lol. When you play this card, choose another card from your hand and play it on top of the Infinity Gauntlet card. It must be a color. All other players who have a card in their hand matching this color must draw 2. It's like the opposite of that other one. Edition 62, Uno Cars 3. I feel like now is a good time to say I'm literally just going down my list of Uno versions relating to movies you guys have all suggested, and the fact that the Cars franchise has appeared so frequently in this episode is purely coincidental. I've never seen this one either, but I remember the memes of Lightning McQueen crashing, so I think it's really funny Mattel chose to make this the Wild Crash Up card. When you draw this card, quote, crash immediately. Take all cards from the hand of the next player in the turn order and shuffle them into your hand. Then, deal the cards back between the two of you evenly, starting with the other player. The Crash Up card itself goes on any discard pile and play resumes. Edition 63, Uno Incredibles 2. Remember how cool the screenslaver looked in the trailers for this movie, and he turned out to be like a pizza guy or something? What happened, Disney Pixar? The unique wildcard here actually has nothing to do with the screenslaver and is all about a completely new character called the Screenslayer. Definitely more child-friendly to straight up murder people. Nice one, Mattel. When you play this card, all other players must close their eyes and place their hand face down in front of themselves. Then you get to take 2 cards from your hand and place them in the hand of any other player. Then everyone opens their eyes. Pretty neat, but I don't see the Screenslayer using their powers to slay anyone here. How strange. It's almost like it's meant to represent hypnosis or something. Edition 64, Uno Trolls World Tour. I don't get it, guys. I only know 2 things about this franchise. 1, it's got Justin Timberlake, and 2, singing killed his grandma or something. Now imagine me trying to read the rules for the Wild Tiny Diamonds mixtape card with a straight face. When this card is played against you, you must draw 1 card from each other player's hand and add it to yours. What does this have to do with music? Anyway, this card gets worse for you the more players there are, which I think is pretty funny. Edition 65, Uno Toy Story 4. Yeah, we're skipping straight to 4. Nothing matters. The unique card here is the Wild Duke Kaboom card. When you play this card, choose 2 other players, shuffle their hands together, and deal them back out evenly between the same 2 players. If there's an odd number of cards, you choose who gets the extra. It's like the crash immediately thing, but this time you're not involved in the crash. Edition 66, Uno Frozen 2. Why was this suggested before Uno Frozen? When you play the Wild Forces of Nature card, choose a color. As play continues, only the color you chose can be played. This continues until it's your turn again, and then the curse is broken. This one is actually quite practical for late game shenanigans, so I like it. Edition 67, Uno Shrek 2. Okay, I understand why Shrek 2 was suggested before Shrek. Shrek 2 is a cinematic masterpiece, with a cover of a song that's somehow better than the original version. Not to mention, it's really funny. The mechanic it brings with it isn't integrated that well though. When the Wild Blind card is played against you, you must close your eyes and draw 1 card from all other players' hands. So, exactly like the Tiny Diamonds mixtape card, except more annoying because you have to have your eyes closed? Excellent. Edition 68, Uno Kung Fu Panda. If I were to choose between noodles and don't noodles, I'd always choose noodles. You ready for another war-adjacent mechanic? The Wild Kickin' Battle card is essentially a 2-player war. When you play this card, choose a player. You both select a card from your hand and reveal it simultaneously. Whoever has the higher number wins. The loser needs to add all cards used in the battle to their hand, including the other player's cards. And an additional 2 cards, just cuz. All cards without numbers count as 0. If there's a tie, you keep playing rounds until someone wins. If either player runs out of cards during the battle, they must draw a card from the draw pile for each following round of the battle and use that card until someone loses. Whoa, kinda important details there. Maybe those will be implemented into the other war-based mechanics later in balancing. Edition 69, Uno Superman Returns. You know, the one where he returns? The Wild Kryptonite card is unfortunately not a color-exclusive wild card, even though I want it to be. When you play this card, all other players must either play a green card or a wild card. If they can't do this, they draw 3 cards instead. Last but certainly not least, we have Edition 70, Uno Pirates of the Caribbean. This one came with a wearable mask thing, which I will not be including because I don't feel like bankrupting anyone with this game. Also, it's a bug, no bugs allowed. This one includes the Dead Men Tell No Tales card, and no, this is not based on the 5th installment of the series. When you play this card, choose a color. Starting with the next player in the turn order, everyone must draw until they get a card of that color. Whoa. A wild all-draw color card, essentially? Incredibly powerful. Deep breath. Exhale. Woo! 19 additions in one video. Pretty impressive, huh? Obviously, the mechanics here were relatively simple considering each version I talked about only added 1 new mechanic. But that's how most of these Uno versions are. So while this episode was used to catch up from the last time, maybe in the future there will be more episodes like this to make twice the progress. Speaking of progress, it's kinda unclear how much progress I'm making in these videos, huh? The internet says there are about 637 versions of Uno in existence, but who knows if that's right. And I'm definitely not including all of those because there are quite a few that don't have unique mechanics in them. So I have a little task for you all. If you know of any versions of Uno that don't have any mechanical differences from base Uno, be a good crewmate and let me know which ones they are in the comments. And that daunting number will get smaller and smaller, resulting in you getting your hands on the amalgam in a more timely fashion. Thank you in advance. Other than that, I think it's about time I wrap this thing up. Thank you for watching. Check out the rules document in the description to see everything I have done so far. Like the video if you in fact liked the video. Subscribe if you want to see more and if you want to support my channel. And I'll see you next time for a very different episode. Bye-bye!